everyone, this is Reki, and today I'd like to talk to you about the state of the channel, so let's get started. First of all, I'd like to apologize to all of you for the fact that there's been very little movement here on the YouTube over the last couple of years. As a matter of fact, the last state of the channel video was in December of 2022 in preparation for the 2023 year. And the 2023 year and the 2024 year did not at all turn out as expected. I had a lot of health issues. I had a lot of business issues going on. They made the ensuing 2 years very crazy. And as a matter of fact, the health issues only resolved themselves at the beginning of March. I had to have some surgery done, and now that all of that is done and I'm back on my feet, I'm hoping that this year is going to bring lots of happy changes to me, the company, and the YouTube channel. So hang on for just a second because I'm going to go over what happened in the last couple of years really quickly and then give you guys a heads up on what's going to be happening in 2025. 2023 came in with several changes. At the end of 2022, I had been ill, which is easily heard if you watch the State of the Channel video for 2022. And I was off of Second Life for several months. I did not return to Second Life until January of 2024. And although I kept my rent up to date and I kept up with what was going on at the gallery around my illness, I returned to the unhappy revelation that my gallery had pretty much been destroyed. Apparently, the owner of the property where I was renting had been removed from Second Life, and they had completely reclaimed all of his property, which means that anyone who was renting from him lost their home or their business during this time, and I was one of those people. Fortunately for me, in February I was given the opportunity to move the gallery to a new location. I was offered a space at a fantasy role-playing sim called Bespelled, and that's where I relocated the gallery. I relocated it to an area of Bespelled that has a Japanese theme, and I put it together as an art walk and a separate gallery, so you can come and see the art walk as if you're walking around a nature walk, or you can go directly to the gallery and see the artwork as it would be seen in real life in a gallery setting. I was really fortunate to get a place there. I'm really happy with how everything turned out. And in March of that year, we had a huge grand opening party with DJs that spanned over an 8-hour period and hundreds of people showing up, lots of donations, lots of interest in my artwork and purchases. As a result, I was offered several art shows over the course of 2023. I also hosted several events in the new location because the new location has an event pavilion, so I was able to host art talks about my favorite artists such as MC Escher. And I was also able to have several game nights where we put out board game tables and people just came and socialized, and we had a great time. It was a lot of fun. Continuing on into 2023, I was also offered the opportunity to do a solo show in real life. Someone affiliated with the Grand Gallery here in my town had seen my work at other community shows and offered me the opportunity to showcase my work in a solo show. And although it was very flattering, I didn't have quite enough work to fill the gallery on my own, so I invited a friend to enjoy the experience with me, and she and I split the gallery together and had our show in 2024. But 2023 was full of me having to put together more work, trying to prep for the show, being very excited over what was going to happen, having any work that was prepared framed, which was a large expense and required a lot of preparation. It was just a crazy time for me. Then leading on into June, more events at the Second Life galleries. We had the opening of the Discord channel. We moved into July and I experienced some trouble in the form of a very hard fall. I had a hairline fracture in my arm. I was very banged and bruised up, wound up off of my feet for several weeks, and nursing the arm for several months afterwards. Finally started feeling better and went on a trip to Disney with my sister for October. She loves the Halloween party that Disney throws every year, so we went and we had a great time. We saw the parades, we did trick-or-treating around Disney, but unfortunately I didn't come back alone. I came back with a very, very bad upper respiratory illness. They tested me for COVID, RSV, and flu, and all of them were negative, but I was extremely sick. And by the end of October, I wound up having to go back to the clinic and discovered that I had a massive double ear infection. While November still found me mostly sick, I did have one business issue which cropped up. Over the course of the first year that Ib Visual Arts was in operation, I found that when people did a search for Ib Visual Arts, they were not actually finding my website. Instead, they were going to something known as IB Visual Arts, which was a visual art and business program that was available at various schools around the world. So I was being buried in web searches, and nobody was actually finding my website. Furthermore, I found that I was getting people coming into the Discord asking for help with their degree programs, help, of course, which I could not provide. So when the website came due to be renewed at the end of November, I let it drop, closed down the IB name, did a lot of branding research, and came back as Artie Streak. And the play on words appeals to me. It's a combination of arty, which I am, and mystique, which art can often be. It can be very elusive and very mysterious. And when you put the two together and you get Artie Streak, it's a play on words about me having an arty streak. So it's a name that I actually really love, and everything has been swapped over to the new name. There's a new website that's now hosted on Shopify instead of Wix. The Discord name was changed. I've been in the process of putting together an Instagram and a Facebook page for Artie Streak, and those are still in production at this point in time. By December, I was back in the hospital because I thought that the dizzy spells I was experiencing were some sort of stroke issue, and it turned out that I had permanent damage to one of my ears. And I was in the hospital for 3 days with, multiple tests and lots of things going on, and finally they determined that I was fine. It was just my ears. So 2023, although ending in the hospital, actually ended on a high note in that I was pretty much cleared of everything except ear problems. So let's talk about 2024. 2024 was a year full of ups and downs. There were some good things that happened. There were some bad things that happened. There were many health issues. I started a new relationship in the middle of 2024, which is still ongoing. I had a real life show. I had a few Second Life shows, I had some major dental work, and then I ended the year with some more health issues. So let's have a bit of a look at what's happened in depth in 2024. January and February of 2024 saw me doing a lot of follow up from my hospitalization of December 2023. I had to do the rounds of all of the major doctors just to confirm test results that I had already received at the hospital, but you do the things that they tell you to do. So I saw the cardiologist, I saw the neurologist, I went around to all the places so they could tell me that everything was fine and they wanted to see me again in 5 years. And then I saw the ENT and we discussed the ongoing problem with my ears, some additional tests that needed to be done. And that brought me to the end of January, and in February I was supposed to be going back for more tests to the ENT, but insurance issues kept all of that held up. Floating into March, I was still dealing with some of those insurance issues, still couldn't get cleared for some of the tests, and finally around mid-March, I had to take a break and use the remainder of March and all of April to get prepped for the upcoming real life art show that I had here. This was the solo show that had been offered to me in the middle of 2023. I still had a couple of pieces of artwork that needed to be completed. I had about a dozen pieces that needed to be framed. And then at the beginning of May, we had to hang the show, and we had a big opening for the gallery, which included a reception with wine and snacks and a meet and greet the artist sort of thing. And then the show ran for 6 weeks, and we pulled it down the second week of June, excuse me. And it was a really nice show. I got a lot of really wonderful feedback. But unfortunately, it was also the first show that I've ever done where I did not sell a piece of artwork. And that really demoralized me. So going into July, I had 2 art shows in Second Life, and I gave them my all. And of course, I sold pieces on Second Life. I usually do, but um, no real life art sales during this time. And at the end of July, the beginning of August, I decided to take a break from artwork and regroup. I was feeling pretty low and needed to get my head on straight, so I thought I would work on some side projects, things that I was interested in. I spent a lot of time with my new partner who kept traveling back and forth from where they lived to come see me. I was seeing them about once a month, and it was really wonderful. And then starting in about September, I had a lot of dental work that needed to be taken care of. And once that was done, I moved into October and November with the intention of getting the website up to date, getting things going once more. But by early December, it became clear that my health was once again becoming an issue. December of 2024 was a mixed bag of both happiness and fear. At the beginning of December, I saw my doctor and got some rather scary news that I was going to have some tests and some cancer screening done. In the meanwhile, my partner and I spent most of December traveling back and forth between my family and their family, and we had a fairly wonderful Christmas despite knowing that I had tests coming up in January, which we were going to have to deal with as soon as all the holiday festivities were over. And that's what brought us into the beginning of 2025. 2025 started with a lot of nail biting, a lot of fear, a lot of waiting for test results. I had first round of tests done in January, and they did not come back in my favor. I was told that I was going to have biopsies and further procedures done in order to clear up the problem I was having and to make sure that there was no cancer present. I spent most of January waiting for the test results to come back in, and then most of February trying to get in with my new doctor because my old doctor was retiring. So I had to wait for a month to get in with the new doctor, and then the new doctor, set me up for some surgery and some procedures, which I had at the beginning of March. And the March surgery was not horrible. Thankfully, I was back on my feet within a couple of weeks. And then it was mainly just waiting for the test results to return. I had a post-surgery follow-up the first week after surgery. And when I went in, much to my incredible relief, the doctor told me there was no cancer present. Now that we are in 2025, my outlook is more along the lines of strike while the iron is hot. I want to get a lot of the things that got overlooked over the course of the last couple of years set right. I want to put together some new series for YouTube. I want to get the website fully functional and get some new products out, do some more new artwork. So let's talk a little bit about what I think is going to be coming in 2025. Let's take a look at what's returning in 2025, what needs to be fixed for 2025, and what are some of the goals for 2025. So, first of all, what's going to return in 2025? Well, as far as the YouTube channel is concerned, more of the same of what you have already seen. There's going to be more Project Zomboid videos. There's going to be more Oxygen Not Included videos. There's going to be more videos that are artwork or art tool related. And there's going to be more reviews because I really enjoyed doing reviews and only got to do a couple of them. What's going to need to be fixed in 2025 includes some issues with the website, the Arty Streak Instagram, both of the galleries on Second Life, the one at Nippon and the one outside of the Back to the 80s nightclub in Second Life, need a little bit of freshening and an update. And given that I sat down after the show of last year and didn't really pick artwork back up, I think it's time that I start drawing again. So those are the big things that need to be fixed for this year. As far as goals for 2025, what I'd really like to do this year is bring things up to date. I want to become re-involved with the art community here in real life. I haven't done that since before COVID started causing us to lock down in 2020. I definitely want to produce more YouTube videos, and as you'll see, I'm well on my way. I have a whole bunch already recorded that need to be edited and posted up to YouTube. I'd like to bring more focus to the Patreon and open a Buy Me a Coffee. I've heard people say Buy Me a Coffee is a wonderful thing because you don't have to subscribe. You can just follow me as you want, and if you find a particular video worthwhile, you can throw a little change at me and then I can buy a coffee. I'd also like to cover more art-related things on YouTube. I did a bit of an overview of my dream box early on. I've talked about a couple of things, but what I'd like to do is a lot more of that. I'd like to produce more game reviews. I mentioned that earlier. And I'd like to start looking more at 3D printing. My partner bought me a 3D printer for Christmas. I have really enjoyed using it. I have enjoyed making 3D models and hand painting them. But I don't really want to do gaming miniatures, although I'm a big gamer, so I have some ideas and things that I would like to share with you guys. And I'd also like to talk a lot about my printer and how it's been working, because I got a Bamboo A1 Mini. I really love it. And as most people who own 3D printers will tell you, having a 3D printer isn't all about pulling it out of the box and printing stuff. It's rather a bit of a project. So you have to be kind of equal parts handyman and equal parts creator, equal parts troubleshooter in order to get anything done with it. Now that I've talked about the goals, let's take a few minutes to talk about the vision. What is the channel going to look like in 2025? There's definitely going to be Project Zomboid videos. Project Zomboid is a game that is near and dear to my heart. I leave it for certain amounts of time and then I go back to it for long periods of time. You'll hear me talk about it often. There's a lot of content still remaining in it. I have a series called On Point and West Point. It has over 100 episodes which have been previously recorded but not edited. I'd like to go back and get a bunch of them up on the channel for your viewing enjoyment. I think once those are uploaded, that the Project Zomboid focus will change for the rest of the year. I will either move to something else and let that series end, or I will do some multiplayer videos for Project Zomboid with my partner. It's something we've been talking about for the last few months, something that we've been playing with, and I think it would be a fun way to give you guys another view of Project Zomboid. Everybody picks it up and gets to play it single player. Not everybody gets to play it multiplayer, or maybe not everybody thinks about playing it multiplayer. So together we can maybe give you an idea of what that would be like. Of course, there's going to be more episodes of Bonnie's World, because I want to get more Oxygen Not Included stuff up on the channel. I have also been playing several games that I would like to feature, which are not currently on the channel. I've been playing a lot of No Man's Sky. I've been playing a lot of Conan Exiles. There's been a lot of board gaming through Steam, playing things such as Terraforming Mars, Takenoko, Ticket to Ride, a lot of smaller games or simulation games. I've been playing Disney Dreamlight Valley. I've been playing PC Simulator. I've been playing Jigsaw Dreams. And there's also some big games coming. I'd like to get Hogwarts Legacy going and tape my progress with that. I would like to get Baldur's Gate 3 going and tape my progress with that. While we're on the subject of gaming, I'd like to mention something that those of you who have been with me a while may have noticed. I don't often review or do videos on the latest AAA titles. There are a few reasons why that's the case, but it basically boils down to the fact that there are plenty of other YouTubers out there covering that sort of content. Meanwhile, what are people playing in between those AAA titles? What are people doing for the months in between when they are waiting for the next AAA release? They're playing all kinds of indie games, smaller games, simulation games. They're playing lots of things that are not AAA titles. And we don't always see those on YouTube channels. That gap kind of bugs me because there are so many good games out there. Some of them are short, some of them are long, some of them are simulations, some of them are puzzle games. We play them to keep ourselves from being bored. We play them as filler. We play them to waste 5 minutes on a lunch break. And with all of these great games out there that people are playing, and the desire and need to play these filler games when the AAA titles are not currently available. I don't understand why more people aren't covering them, because there's definitely reason for them to be covered. How do you know what might be good to play, and how do you know what might be bad, and how do you know what's out there if nobody's bothering to cover these particular releases? So I tend to cover older games that I really love, pixel graphics games that people overlook, story driven games, puzzle games, simulation games, things that I like to play that fill in for me between these big AAA games. And I hope that you'll enjoy getting to see them, and maybe you'll find some new things that you might want to play when you're not busy with the Baldur's Gates or the Cyberpunks of this world. So, what else can you see coming in 2025 to the YouTube? Well, there's definitely going to be more art videos. I intend to actually do formal art showcases, some of my work and sometimes the work of others. I have several artist friends and several artists whom I admire both in real life and on Second Life, and I'd like to see their work get greater exposure as well as my own. I also would like to do some art talks and artist deep dives. I started doing some of those on Second Life. They went over really well, so I'd like to perhaps screen record those talks and then post them up to YouTube so that those of you who don't know about some of these artists can also enjoy the information that I've presented. And speaking of Second Life, there's definitely going to be more Second Life videos. I'd like to do more general tours just so you guys can see what Second Life is all about. I know a lot of people think that Second Life is, just another video game, but for me, I consider it more of another social media outlet. It's a hangout place where you can chat with people, you can share work, you can do things, but it's also a virtual world where you can wander around, tour other people's locations that they have built, and see a great many things. There are amusement parks and beaches, as well as multiple art galleries. There are even schools where you can learn things, and some of the real life businesses here in the world have a presence in Second Life, such as car companies or AT&T. So you never quite know what you're going to find on Second Life. It's so vast, it's impossible to predict without becoming an explorer. I'd also like to do some locations showcases. So hop from place to place, take some screen recordings of different spots and what you can do with those locations. And then, of course, I'd like to show you examples of how I use Second Life to drive traffic to my real life website. Because Second Life is a treasure trove of a bunch of people all in one place. On any given day, you might have as few as 30,000 people on it, or as many as 150,000 people on it. And if you can get even just a small percentage of those people to look at your work or your business, 10% of 30,000 is still a large number. And you might just get a lot more exposure through Second Life than you would through a traditional website, because these people who are coming to galleries or who are coming to clothing stores are there specifically looking for those things. And some of the most prolific content creators in Second Life are also the most ingenious about crossing the boundary between First and Second Life. There's a lot of different ways that you can use Second Life for business. So I'm going to present you with as much information on how to leverage Second Life to your benefit as possible. I also intend to do 3D printing videos. I received a wonderful 3D printer, as I mentioned earlier. It's a Bambu Labs A1 Mini. It's the smallest printer that Bambu Labs has available. It's got a 7 by 7 by 7 inch print bed. The total dimensions of it are not very large. I almost was able to fit it into a cubby in my bookshelf, but it was just a couple of centimeters too wide and too tall. So it's really a very small printer, and there's a lot you can do with it. It's a great printer for beginners. So what I'd like to do is make videos specific to the A1 Mini, do some tool reviews, show you how Maker World works, show you some of the best prints that I found for modifying or customizing the A1 Mini, and the best add-ons for using this particular printer. I'd like to do tutorial videos, and I actually have one in current production, which is about how to use the A1 Mini to do multicolor prints. And there's a lot more content that I would like to cover. I'd like to cover the crossover between 3D printing and art, and you're also going to see some content crossover from my Patreon. I'll be posting snippets of behind the scenes work and in progress videos and gallery shows, which you will be able to see in full if you subscribe to my Patreon. So there's a lot coming in 2025. There's a lot of work in progress. I have a lot to do, so I hope you'll be patient and bear with me, and I hope that you will come along on this ride with me, and most importantly, that you will enjoy it.